Today I have a serious question for you. Who moved my cheese? Hey, what's up? I'm Ken. This is kenfuTV, and each week I release videos in the martial arts, philosophy, technique, training, that sort of thing. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, hope you stick around, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, drop some comments, have a conversation. But today, let's talk about cheese. This book, Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson, is one of my favorite books in any category, both personal development, professional development, martial development. This book is excellent, and you can tell that it's super thick. You'd probably not have enough time in your life to read it. Like, you should probably avoid, because who has time for this, right? No, seriously, get a copy of this book. Also, Audible. I actually listened to it the first time through because I spent a lot of time driving for work, and there's a great audiobook version of this. I'll drop the quick premise. The premise is, people meet, they're talking about their lives and how things have gone for them, and one of them's talking about how things have been going really good for him, and he tells a story to the group about 4 creatures in a maze. Okay, so 2 little people named Hem and Haw, and 2 little mice named Sniff and Scurry. They go in the maze, they're always looking for cheese. That's their whole deal, right? But the important thing to realize is that cheese is a metaphor for whatever it is in your life. It might be an ideal relationship. It might be monetary and financial success. It might just be general success that can be separate. I want you to know, I want you to hear from me that success can be separate from money. And I believe firmly in that. But whatever it is that you want to be able to move on, to be able to have success in, that's your cheese. And so this book is all about what you do when that cheese is gone. So in the story, you've got these 2 little people, these 2 mice, Hem, Haw, Sniff, and Scurry, going through the maze, going to find their cheese. They end up at Cheese Station C. All this cheese. Life is good. Everything's great. One day the cheese is gone. How each one handled that, even amongst themselves. You had the 2 mice, and the 2 mice reacted together differently, but then individually differently, whereas the 2 little people also behaved together, but individually reacted differently to the situation. And it is essentially just looking at different ways you can approach when things in life are changing, when maybe your business model is starting to change, maybe your success is starting to change, maybe what you do is starting to change. So I want to talk about a couple pieces in here. There's so many. There's all these pictures where one of the guys would write on the wall, and he'd write something down, and then he'd draw cheese around it. But there's a whole bunch of these, where he's saying it is safer to search in the maze than remain in a cheeseless situation. The more important your cheese is to you, the more you want to hold on to it. All these little things. I mean, there's just great little quotes and stuff like that. But let's talk about some specific ones. So in the book, if you've had this book, I'm on page 41. I'm actually on page 40, leading into 41. But essentially what's happening is Hem and Haw have been without cheese. Sniff and Scurry have long since left to find new cheese. And Hem and Haw have been struggling to give up on the idea that this cheese is gone forever. They're just holding on to it. They don't want to move on. So Haw of Hem and Haw is visualizing. He's actively picturing what it would be like to find new cheese, and maybe he's picturing even that maybe Sniff and Scurry have already found new cheese, and he pictures them enjoying this new cheese, and he's visualizing this, and he looks at Hem and he goes, let's go, let's get in the maze, let's do this. Here's where it gets into it. No, Hem quickly responded, I like it here. It's comfortable. It's what I know. Besides, it's dangerous out there. No, it isn't, Haw argued. We've gone through many parts of the maze before, and we can do it again. I'm getting too old for that, Hem said, and I'm afraid I'm not interested in getting lost and making a fool of myself. Are you? With that, Haw's fear of failing returned, and his hope of finding new cheese faded. In the martial arts, in life, there are many situations like this. This channel's about the martial arts. I'm going to relate this to the martial arts. So imagine for a moment that your cheese is relevance, is technical ability, is realizing that maybe something that you trained and got really good at doesn't match up with something that is more realistic or more matches what you're trying to do, or has been superseded by something better, more efficient. No, I'm comfortable here. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to make a fool of myself. I'll keep doing this. These are the things that happen in dojos all the time. People come to see a new way of dealing with something, or they realize that a technique is not there. Hell, hikite, right? For a long time, people said it's for power generations. You rip this arm back when you punch so that you generate more power out of your hips. It's been proven that that is not true. That there's no valid bearing on that. And the hikite itself, even the word, is defined as the pulling hand. And pulling wasn't pulling to generate power, but pulling to move a person. And there are other books by other people, other masters, who've talked about the function of that hand. So we have two choices. We can choose to continue to stick with where we got. Well, hikite is for power generation. And that's what we've always done. That's what everybody here knows. That's what we're going to continue to focus on. Or we can latch on to the idea that we now know something new. There's something different that we can base our ideas and our training on. And we can move with it. We can find that new cheese. The new cheese shows us that the hikite is the pulling hand is the way to go. Any number of things. Look at when the UFC came out. Potential scandals aside. Video here about some things that Joe Wallace had to say about first UFC and all of that, but either way, there came a time in the martial arts where Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was gaining popularity because it was proving itself very effective. Other arts were showing themselves ineffective in certain situations. People had a choice. They had a choice to look and understand and process and see what truths there were to that and how they can incorporate that or come to understand that or even reevaluate their own art with the lens of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu showing them, hey, here are other situations or ways that people can defeat what you're doing, so how do you make sure that what you're doing is still effective or possibly do something different? Or we can go, and make a whole bunch of stories about how, my stuff's too dangerous to get in the ring, so I won't get in the ring, and there's rules, so I can't do this because I would do all of this, or I would do that, or I would do this. When most of the time people are hiding behind the fact that they just don't want to admit that there might be truth to this, and they need to accept that and go with it. Now, there's different ways, and how you approach that is for you, and that's what I like about this book, is it shows 4 different approaches to handling the situation. None of them are right, none of them are wrong, none of them are the only choices. Instead, it's just showing, here's some different ways, and you can see the value of approaching things different ways and how that might affect how you move forward and what you gain from things. So I hope that you take time to look at your training and make sure that you're not being hem and refusing to move forward because you're afraid of the fear. In fact, Ha goes on to write on the wall before he leaves. He says, when you stop being afraid, you feel good. And also later on, he says, old beliefs do not lead you to new cheese. Pretty powerful little thing right there. Old beliefs, hanging on to those old beliefs and never questioning or revisiting those or reflecting on how they may or may not apply right now can lead to you missing opportunities and limiting your potential. But let's also talk for a second about him saying all those things and what effect it had on Ha. Ha, he had all of these beautiful visions in his mind of where he could go and how he could go try to be successful and put himself out there and see if he could find new cheese. And then listening to him go on and on about the potentials and the dangers and the fear of looking a fool, and that vision faded and the fear came back. So we have to be careful of the words that we choose and how we present things to people, because it's not just affecting us, it's affecting the people around us. And that attitude, that approach to difficulty and to change and things that require you to adapt and overcome, if your approach is very negative and you spread that approach, then maybe you also hinder somebody else's success, somebody else finding new cheese. So be careful. Be careful the things that you say, because words are powerful and they have a lasting impression, even if you didn't notice that they did. Now for a line that this was written well before our current situation, but it speaks very clearly right now with COVID-19 and the way the world is handling things and the way things are changing. Page 45, as they're talking, as Ha is getting the courage to overcome Hem's negative attitude and is going to go try it anyway, he looks to Hem and he says, "Sometimes, Hem, things change and they're never the same again. This looks like one of those times. That's life. Life moves on, and so should we." truly believe right now that the world has changed. And while we keep fighting for things to go back to normal, there are things that won't go back to normal. And we can see that as a negative thing that we're really upset about, or we can embrace that and look at all the new ways. Look at all the new training and all the new things that are happening because people are jumping on Zoom and training across the globe easily. We're doing a bunch of it and it's awesome. There's so many different things. People are teleworking. People are able to save money in their businesses because of things like teleworking. There's all kinds of things that are going to change, and they're not likely to be the same ever again. That's life. Life moves on, and so should we. So the next time you're faced with a problem, consider your cheese. Consider what you have to do if your cheese is running out or your cheese is gone and you need to go find new cheese. Well, also, somebody in the comments can drop down how many times I've said the word cheese in this video, because I'm sure it's been like 1.5 million. It's probably like, we're going to go with 58. I'm guessing 58 times I've said the word cheese. Just in case I was low, cheese, 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 cheese. I hope you guys get a copy of this book. There's links below to find a copy of this book. It is an affiliate link, so if you pick up a copy of this, I might get a nickel or something. It's not much, but it helps. It helps me, and mostly I hope that this helps you. It helps me a couple different times a year. It's something that is worth going back to periodically. That's it for today. Think about what your cheese is in your life, the thing that's important to you, and think about if it's still here, if it's safe, if things are possibly changing in relation to it, and if you need to make adjustments to keep it or find new cheese. If you want to subscribe to my channel, you can do that right here. If you want to see a playlist of videos like this one, the Ken reads stuff, right here, and a couple more videos that you might like right here. I'm Ken. This is kenfuTV, and cheese, 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 cheese.